Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Micks Mowers, and in this episode we're going to be doing the follow-on to the Hayter Hayterette, which I got going in the last video, which was fantastic news. We're going to be engine off today and then start to do the paint process. Whether I do the engine first, spray them bits up first, or the deck, I'm not quite sure yet how far I get, but we shall see. Don't forget to hit the old thumbs up and touch the old subscribe button down there in the corner. That'll give you a notification to tell you I've released another video, or in fact doing my regular Saturday night live stream. So we're going to be getting on doing that. Riley boy is still at school, he's having a good time, so he's enjoying himself, and I'm just sitting here chilling out in the shed. So without further ado, let's get down and dirty and let's check out this Hayter Hayterette. Okay, first things first, I think, is preparation. This hasn't been taken apart for quite some time, so bit of penetrating fluid wherever we can get it on anything at all. And the trick is going to be to try and keep all the parts best I can, because I'm not going to have any spares for this. So I'm going to start off with undoing these bolts on the handle. Just want to loosen them off. And I'm literally going to be taking my time with them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts here which will separate this handle up. I'll disconnect the throttle control as well, and that handle will then come off, and then I shall make my way down to this bottom section just here. Right, so this is how far we are. The handles are off the top now. That's done. I've removed the throttle control as well off of the handles and off of the front of the engine. Next thing I want to do is get down into here to remove these bars off of these as well. They look a bit smaller actually, about a 10mm. It could be a 13, they are 13. So I want a 13mm socket on there, and then I want a 13mm ratchet spanner out of my drawer, which should be to hand. There it is. These I got from Tesco's, funnily enough. These are ratchet spanners with a swivel head. They're quite cool. And all I'm going to do is try and attach the ratchet spanner to the top, and then slacken that off. These have now been sat for about 15-20 minutes with WD-40 on them. And again, this is going to take a bit of time to do this, so I don't want to put the impact on it, because the chances are they will shear. So let me undo these 4 bolts that hold this on, and then I'll come back to you once that bit's done. Okay, so whilst I've just removed those handles off of here now, they're now completely gone, only 4 bolts held them on. And whilst the engine's still relatively warm, I wanted to take the oil out. So I've got my oil extraction pump in the background just over here, and that's sucking out oil out of the engine, because the engine's going to be taken off and tipped over. And so we have to take it out because of it's going to be tipped up, all that sort of good stuff. Whilst I'm doing this repair, I'm also watching at the same time. I'm watching a gentleman called BS Small Engines. That's Brandon, and he's talking about flipping mowers in America. He's over in Texas, so go and check out Brandon as well. He's got a good little channel, works on tractors, ride on mowers, and does workshop fixes, all that sort of good stuff. So go and check him out at the same time. He'll appreciate the support as well. So what we're going to do now is wait for this oil to come out of this engine. And once all the oil is out, I should then peg off the fuel, keep the fuel out of it. This will then be tipped up on its side, and then we can have a look underneath to see how we can move this blade setup, because it is a quad setup, and then that will then get me to at least the bolts underneath. But I don't think I can access the engine bolts until I get the blade adapter off, which could be one of the biggest and hardest things I'm going to do with this engine. But at the moment, it's all sort of getting there. Once the engine's off, I can then choose whether to either work on the engine and take the cowling off and spray that up, or if I work on the actual deck. But the oil is just about to be finished draining. I can hear it. There it goes. That's all the oil out. I'm just going to tip this lawnmower up on its side, just a little tiny bit, and that will then get all the oil out of it, and then we'll go from there. Okay, and here is the view of the underside of this mower. Lots of grass underneath here, which you'd expect, and these are the little tiny blades that come with it, and actually they do need replacing, so I need to order a set of these up, and I'm convinced these are actually on too tight. I believe they should swivel. That one's loose, that one's not too bad. That one's solid. That's solid. That's solid. So I believe they should have a bit of swivel to them, so that if you hit anything, it won't just jump up. So they're mullered by the looks of it. So I shall be ordering a new set of those, and you can get them on eBay and what have you for around about £9 to £20, somewhere in there. So to take this off, it's looking like about a 14mm, give or take. Bearing in mind this is an old style engine, so it might be in other sizes. Let's try a 9/16. That's a better fit. So 9/16. I'm going to try and put my impact on it first. Before I do any of that, I want to just get my hammer, my big Dizzy diet hammer out, and just to shock it. I don't know where this last come off. That'll just help in case anything was seized on there. So we're going to get 9/16. What's that on there? That's a 13mm. Spark plug HT has been removed from the engine, so there's no way the engine can start. And we're going to try number 2 first, see how that gets on. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so that's undone, but that's not the end of it. We need to try and get this plate off now, which could cause issues. Because there's no way you'll get a puller on that. No way. It may just slip off. I can't see it. Let's have a look. No, as suspected. So it's going to be literally pry bars in and what have you, try and get this to remove. Lots of penetrating fluid to try and get it off of the shaft. It's going to be a swine, I know it is. I'll come back to you as and if and when I get it off, but it's got to come off to get the engine off. Let's have a quick little look to see what's actually behind it. Just to double check I don't need to undo anything else. Let's have a little look in there. So it's just a standard blade boss that's on. Sometimes they have a grub screw, that's what I'm looking for, but there's no way you'll be able to get your hand in there anyway. No, there's not. So it's a standard blade boss that runs on the shaft, but obviously it's not been treated with anything, so chances are it's going to be quite rusty. So yeah, lots of pry barring, lots of whacking with hammers, shocking it and trying to get it to come off. Once it comes off, we'll be on a winner, but until I can get that off, we're going to be stuck. Okay, going to be really honest, it ain't coming. I've heated it up, I've shocked it, I've pried against it, and I just cannot get that to shift at all. It does not want it. So I've got two choices. Well, I think what I do need is you can get an air impact chisel, which you can put up in there, just it's on a point, and that will vibrate it loose. There's that option. I don't have one. Like an air hammer. Two other options are going to be to try and remove the engine bolts. I can see two, but it's going to be getting to the third one that's going to be the issue. It's behind here somewhere, probably down the bottom side. One, two, yeah, there it is there. I might be able to get them off, which will loosen the engine enough to push the engine up, which will give me enough space to remove the engine. Now, in hindsight, I need to remember what I'm doing, and that is I'm only doing this up to sell. The engine runs, that we know, but the deck is looking shocking. So maybe what I'll do is I'll take these off and renew those. And if I just clean as much as I can, scrape all this up, take all this dirt out, which I can get to, most of it, or pretty much all of it, and then paint as much as I can with the Amorite, and then paint this black, because that is effectively the reason why I want to take this off, is just to get behind it and paint it. So in hindsight, it's not worth the effort of me beasting this. I'm going to damage it and possibly damage a casing. I've looked at the engine seal behind the oil seal, and that's not leaking. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it. I'm not admitting defeat. I can't get it off with the tools that I've got. That's the answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to scrape all this down, wire brush it all. That'll be getting its first coat of paint, the green. And then I should be able to paint, yes, I can paint all of the deck on the top side, which should be okay. So, you know, if I was doing a full restore, proper restore, where the engine was coming apart, that'd be different. But the engine actually already runs. So I'm going to be going back to doing a clean down, paint where I can, clean it all up, and then just renew the blades on it anyway. But this pan will be staying. It's just not coming off. So I've had a blowtorch on it for a little while, and it's not having it. I don't want to damage the engine by trying to remove it. So give us any tips on how to get it out. I'm thinking an air hammer on there will vibrate it and shock it loose. It's only where the boss is so rusted onto that shaft. That's the only reason. Someone could have put some anti-lock on there or something. Anti-seize would have been nice, but it didn't. So anyway, I'm going to scrape it down, tidy it all up around here, and then give it its first coat of paint, and then we'll tip it back over and start on the top side. Right, so there's the mower at the moment. The blades will stay on until I get a new set, so I remember which way to go up, obviously. Painted there, and I've gone as far behind here as I can. I'm going to try and get a bit more in here if I can, but that looks $100 better already. And I'm happy with it. So I'm going to tip it on its front now, and then we'll continue to we'll take the wheels off of it, and we'll start to give the deck a bit of a paint up as well. Okay, so the wheels are now off, and what have you. I'm going to start to remove the engine casing now, which is 2 or 3 bolts here. Take this off, that's all going to be sprayed up, exhaust to come off, all that sort of good stuff. 2 bolts on the front here to remove this, and then some big bolts either side, all 4 corners to remove the height adjustment rodding, and then we can go from there. Okay, so that's had its paint job on the top. I'm now going to start to remove the manifold. I want to take the flywheel off as well, because that will be painted, especially the manifold will anyway. And then what I do is once that paint's all dry, I can then put a cloth around the entire engine, and then I just spray the engine nice and black. But I want to just sand back this flywheel magnets because they're rusty as anything, and that might be the reason why it's poorly starting as well. So I'm just going to remove the manifold, which will be 2 bolts here and here, and that'll be the manifold removed, and that'll be sanded down and sprayed black along with a guard that came off it as well. Okay, so it's the next day. Just thought I'd carry on a bit more of a Hayter. It's had the painted coat done, first coat on the bottom and on the top, so I haven't had a coat yet. But I was having a bit of a ponder about this this blade adapter. Or incidentally, I have got on my laptop at the moment, I've got Colin Ketley. He's doing his New Year video on what his channel's going to be doing, and he does lawnmowers and bits and pieces, engine fixes, ride-ons, that sort of stuff. So go over and look at Colin Ketley. He's kind of cool, nice fellow too. So I'm not going to take the credit for this because, like everything we do in life, we research and try and find fixes. And a channel I plugged just the other day, Mowers and stuff, he actually removed one of these, which was a bit stubborn, and got me thinking. You can get an old mower blade, as long as the holes are slightly wide apart. If they're not, you might have to drill these. And then you have to drill this plate. So you put this onto here, and then you would drill either side of this boss, which lines up with these 2 holes. Okay, cut that off there and there, but make sure that the holes are wider than this plate here. So it wants to be about here and here. Make that fit, and then you can slide then a bolt down through the back with a big washer on each end, put it through, and then once you've once you've done that, you can then pick up. I'm just trying to get my 2-jaw puller out, which I've got in here. once you've got your 2-jaw puller and you've got those 2 bolts going through, holding on, you can then get your 2-jaw puller, put that on, and with a bolt going through the centre, of course, you can then put your 2-jaw puller on and then start to retract that blade boss out. That's the only way I've seen it done. As I say, I'm not going to take the credit for someone else's work. I saw that off of Luke's mowers and stuff video. So yeah, pretty simple. Drill 2 holes through there, 2 bolts come through onto here. Make sure it's got big washers on the back of it, and then a bolt in the centre, and you can retract it out with a 2-jaw puller. So that's what you can do for that. So I have found a workaround. However, I'm not, well, not yet. I'm not going to be. These blades also should be loose. They should all be hanging down like this chap. That's how they should be. They shouldn't be on here tight like this. The idea is if you hit something, then these rotate. That's the idea. So they should all be like this one here, not tight. So the next thing I want to do is I want to try and remove these big blades, bolts from these blades, because I have a new set of blades coming. I got them from, they're called new old stock, so there's someone that bought them a long time ago but never used them, and I picked up a set of genuine Hayter blades for 12 quid, which is cheap because they are, as I say, new old stock. So they should be here by Friday, so this video might have to be dragged out till Friday if possible. Just trying to find a nut that's going to fit that, because they're quite well battered. Now these are a bit of an issue getting these off, and generally they end up being cut off, which is not something I want to do because I haven't purchased the bolts. I've just purchased the bars, the blades only. So I'm just trying to locate a 13mm spanner. I suspect them to be 13. Now there's not a lot of room behind here, hence, oh my god, a light going out. Okay, to remove these bolts is simply done with a spanner on the back of this and just undo these, but these are not proving to be very simple, so I'm going to end up cutting these off, which means I need to now reorder a set of new bolts for it. It's not the end of the world, it's just another bit of a cost, but they're not going to be, not shifting. I have tried, but just literally you cannot get these nuts to undo. They just don't want to come. You can't get an impact on them to assist. No, it's not going to come. I'm going to end up cutting my fingers in half. So I'm going to cut these off with a grinder, and that will then give me the space I need then to put a new set of blades on. So I'm going to order up a set of bolts now. They should be here the same sort of time, because these are well done. They're cooked. I should have blades on either sides of them, but these are well battered. So because they've been done up very tight, has done the blades in. So I'm going to get a grinder on these and cut these off with a cutter, and then when I've done that, I'll come back. Right, you're going to have to excuse my lighting. I've got a light on its way out and it's just going on and off. It's becoming quite annoying, but there's nothing I can do about it at the minute. It's just started happening. So, right, that's all those bolts and blades now removed. They are a bit of a pickle to get off, I must admit. The plate is not in horrendous condition. It is a bit bent and battered where other people have been smashing on it, but it's not too bad. It wants a bit of a repaint now. And I've ordered the extra bolts and collars for these as well, because they come with a collar system as well. So they're coming, which is good. So it's a bit of a tidy up. I'll come back and then we can move on to the next step. Right, with those blades now off, I want to remove the muffler, and I want to remove all this height adjustment stuff coming off, because I then want to give it a decent coat all over. And then what I intend to do is get a bin liner, put it all the way around, mask it round so I can spray the engine up, all that sort of good stuff. Take the flywheel off, clean the magnets up because they're shocking, and give it a good jet blast off. Spray the engine black with a heat treated paint and all that sort of good stuff. So next is to do is these bolts here, which I'm guessing they're going to be around about 1/2 inch, give or take. Yeah, 1/2 inch. and then I've got to remove 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts there, and then there would be one the other side on these big ones, and then the whole lot should then come off. That's the theory. Hopefully they won't all spin on me. And these are all locking nuts on here. So it's going to take a bit of a process to get these off. There's a bolt underneath, as you can imagine, but they're not spinning as of yet. I'm not sure if they're captive, if they're welded yet. Haven't had a look. But I'll crack on with this, and then when you come back, the height adjustment will be removed, and then we can move on to the next side of it. Right, with those 4 bolts now removed, which go through here and through here, this now assembly is now all loose, and it's got some little plastic coupling bits on it. It all just sort of falls apart in your hands. That's a bit to the back flap, so don't lose those pieces. All that height adjustment comes off from the front, and there are some split pins, but what I'm going to try and do is try and remove this all in one, and then it'll all be sanded down together, cleaned up, greased up, painted, all that sort of good stuff, greased up, you know, where it needs to be. And I'm hoping now to go over to the front side, and there's 1 bolt on the front each side to do, and then this height adjustment should lift right off, and then I've got the whole deck exposed, and then I can start to paint it properly and get all the bits that I've missed. Right, so that's the bulk of the height adjustment. These didn't want to come off. Absolutely solid. I don't have the spare bolts for those, so I'm going to leave them be, and they'll just be painted black. I can pretty much get to all of that and black them up. That won't be a problem. But around the back here, that's now to be cleaned up, scraped up, and what have you, and I can get round and paint all that green. Once that's done, I'm going to give it a paint of green over top, a paint of green underneath, and re-black that disc up again, because I had to grind it all off, and it's now gone a very, very funny colour. So I'm going to get on and do that. You don't need to see me paint that up, and then after that I should probably end up taking the flywheel cup off, because the magnets are absolutely shocking. They need a good sand, a good clean. I shan't bother spraying that. I should leave that be. That's going to be hidden, and then I can then move on to cleaning the engine, cleaning that right up, spraying that all black so that looks nice, and try and sand it down where I can. So when you come back, this engine will be black, flywheel would have been taken off, cleaned up, and magnets sorted. A good air compress all over, because there's loads of stuff in between, and a good clean up. So I'll be happy with that. And then I think we'll call that a video, and then the next video will be me doing the pull cord assembly, cleaning the wheels up, all that sort of good stuff. By then I'm hoping that the bits will be in, and I can then get on and do put the blades back on and start to reassemble. So I've got a bit of cleaning up to do. I'll just come back very quickly once I've painted the engine, all that sort of good stuff. I'm just going to put a bag around here with some masking tape just to cover it all up, and then that'll look nice and black in all here when it's done. That'll be with a heat treated spray paint. I'm going to be using a very, very fine wire brush with a bit of hot soapy water, just to get rid of all the corrosion, all that sort of good stuff. So that will be done by hand, where I can get it, blow it all off with an air compressor, so it's all nice and clean. So yeah, give us well, it'll be 3 or 4 seconds for you, but it'll be about half an hour to an hour for me. And when you come back, this will be looking nice green and black, and a bit more presentable, ready for reassembly. Okay, so as promised, I've now took the I sprayed the pull cord up. I'm not happy with this. This is going to be changed. It should be matte black, and it's got like a gloss to it, and it is a matte one, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. This is a stove heat resistant paint I put on here, so it's different colour style of paint, but hey ho. Pull cord I've now fixed. All it was just a bit of oil, bit of love and attention. That's all that needed. So now it retracts much better. It wasn't retracting fully, but it is now. All sprayed up. New air filter is inside there. I've put the, let me bring you around a smidge so you can see a bit better. I've also done the manifold exhaust. That's all now sprayed up as well. I put a note on it saying no oil, just in case I forget to fire it up and it's got no oil in it. The exhaust has been sprayed black, and so has the guard, all black. I don't tend to spray my exhaust silver. I like to spray mine black, that's just me. So I've done that. What else have I been busy doing? The engine's been fully sprayed as well, including the flywheel. Flywheel came off as well, and I've sprayed the flywheel up, and all the back of the engine's all been sprayed as well, all that sort of good lovely stuff. So all in all, we are winning. The lawnmower's had its second and last coat of green, which I'm happy with. So tomorrow I'm going to get on and do, in fact I might call this a day on this one, and then I'll do a part 3 video next, which will be painting the height adjustment up, all that sort of good stuff, and then cleaning the wheels up, fitting the new blades, all that kind of stuff. Otherwise it's going to be a sort of 3 hour long video, and I don't want to be over that, so I like to keep mine about half hour if I can, but I'm struggling to gauge the length because these are quite lengthy videos, so that'll do. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Micks Mowers. This is part 2, so there'll be a part 3, which will be all the height adjustment, the handlebars, all that sort of stuff, cleaning the wheels up. The bearings look good, and then I've got to fit the blades on as well. I'll show you how to do those, so they're slightly different, and then hopefully we should be on a bit of a winner there with regards to getting this Hayterette up and running. Just got to do a bit more bits and pieces just to type, but I will try and get you to show you what I've done as I've gone through. I need to get a new light in my shed because that's gone very yellow and it's not lighting as much as I would like, so I need to measure those up and get some new fluorescent ones in. I'm looking to get some LED ones at some point, but it is what it is at the moment. Just until the season gets here, I can't afford to replace everything. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Micks Mowers. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you found it informative. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If it's your first time you're watching Micks Mowers, also don't forget to hit the old subscribe button and whack the old bell. And if you set your notifications to all, that will tell you that I've released another video, or in fact I'm on a live stream and you can join me and come up on the panel and actually have a chat, which would be fantastic to see you all. But until then, people, don't forget, take her easy.